Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be giving you an extended sneak peek inside my latest book entitled Chibi. Don't forget the exclamation point. It's very important to add an exclamation point to the title of this book. This book comes out on March 20th. I think if you order it today, you're going to get it considerably sooner than that. And there is also a contest going on where the publisher is giving away 10 different signed copies of this book. I am going to put the info about that in the description of this video and maybe talk a little more about it later. But for now, let's go ahead and have a look inside. Now, those of you who know my Mastering Manga books will remember that I did a little cartoon version of myself and did comic strips before every chapter to introduce what you were about to read. This time I decided to do something different. I created a character named Mochi, who is, of course, a chibi herself, and later on I'm going to give you a read-through in the entirety of one of these strips. But I thought I would liven things up by, instead of having boring old markcrilley talking to you, having this chibi character. And you will see it becomes quite playful indeed as the book goes on. The first chapter is called Chibi Basics, and it really just gets you into figuring out the proportion system of drawing chibis, as well as giving you a little introduction to the various emotional states that chibis can express. Let's have a look at the very first lesson in the book. Now, one of my pet peeves about manga instruction is when people present something as if there's just one way to do it. And I definitely didn't want to do that with my chibi instructions. You'll see here, this one probably comes as close as I would say to a standard, what I imagine as standard chibi proportions, but I wanted to show that there were other ways of doing it, such as the super short chibi girl that comes along in lesson number 3. Now, this is very extreme. The head is like bigger from top to bottom than the entire body, but you do sometimes see people drawing chibis this way, and so I wanted to make sure that that was represented. And indeed, you see chibis that are fairly tall, such as this next one. The tall chibi boy, and of course the tall chibi girl, and I wanted to make sure that we had at least 3 different styles of proportions, both male and female, in this opening part of the book, so that people who buy the book understand that there is no single way of drawing chibis. I really want you to be encouraged to play around with the different proportional systems and find the style that works best for you. I have a section on chibi hairstyles, and within it you find this page comparing 2 different ways of doing the proportions on the hair. Sometimes people being very kind of playful with the proportions, although what I would say is that this is proportional to the body. This is a little more in proportional to just to the head. But I wanted to make sure that you saw this style that I've seen a lot of, in which the hair really kind of dominates the illustration. In the second half of the first chapter, we get into the fun part, the emotions, showing different chibi emotions, such as the surprised chibi, the joyful chibi, the sad chibi, and of course, the angry chibi. I feel like the emotions are at the core of what chibi are all about, so I wanted to make sure that we delved into this pretty deeply. Indeed, on this next page, we have a look at the different symbols that are used in chibi illustrations to convey different emotions. And throughout the book, you'll see, rather than just a smiling chibi, sometimes they're presented with rather different looking emotions on their faces. Chapter 2 is devoted to characters and poses. This is where we are able to get away from, the just standing there chibi to chibis that are actually doing things, and also get into the details of specific types of characters. So as I said earlier, each one of these chapters comes with a comic strip introducing it, featuring this character, Mochi, that I created especially for this book. And as promised, I want to do a little read-through so you can get a feel for how I did this. Quite different from the way I handled the comic strips in Mastering Manga. So panel 1, she says, "All right, you've learned the basics. Now it's time to take things to the next level. That means learning some trickier poses and adding details that make your characters more interesting. In the pages ahead, you'll find all of this and more." In fact, this chapter even has a lesson on drawing chibis that wear animal costumes like mine. Well, not exactly like mine. The kid in the lesson is wearing a panda costume. My costume is a teddy bear up here, but with a cat's tail and back, and bananas sewn onto the bottom of the feet for some reason. It was on sale. So there's a weird kind of random quality to some of these comic strips that I thought was in keeping with the spirit of Chibi. I definitely didn't want to take it too seriously, and hopefully you all will enjoy the way I handled that aspect of the book. So the chapter begins with 3 different characters devoted to poses. Here's the running Chibi, as you can see, getting more detailed, challenging you to take your skills to a higher level. Let's look at the other 2 poses. The action pose, and the kissing pose. All of these, of course, being step-by-step lessons that show you in a doable way how to get from the very basics on in through to the final details and complete your illustration. But in between the step-by-step lessons are pages like this one that give you specific information here comparing different inking styles and how it changes the way that your Chibi character will look. Some of my favorite pages actually are these instructional ones that give you a little extra information that you can't get by way of a step-by-step lesson. Some of you may recognize this. I did a video a while back about drawing legs, and I liked the results of it so much I decided to work it into my Chibi book, comparing 3 different ways of drawing the feet and showing how drastically different the character can look. Again, emphasizing the fact that there is no single way of drawing Chibis, that you should feel free to find your own way, find the version that looks best to you. Of course, no book about drawing Chibis would be complete without a page devoted to romantic Chibi poses. So here, at the end of that lesson about how to draw a Chibi kiss, you get 3 extra poses related to lovey-doveyness, as only Chibis can do it. After the section on poses, we start to get into specific Chibi characters. This one, the Witch Chibi, followed by the Panda Girl Chibi, which I indeed gave away as a video lesson some weeks ago. I will link to that if you want to check it out. It shows you more or less what one of these lessons is like in the book. And then finally, the Fox Boy Chibi, which brings us into this idea of sort of animal characters, or characters that have animal ears and tails and so forth. And indeed, you're always learning a new pose with each one of these lessons. So at least 30 different poses you're going to learn in a step-by-step way. Here's a page devoted to the anatomy of a Chibi eye, explaining all the different elements that you tend to see in most drawings of Chibi eyes, and allowing you again to sort of tweak the formula and come up with your own way of doing things. Clothing wrinkles can be a challenge, whether you're drawing Chibis or anything else, so I got a page in here showing you the location that wrinkles tend to form, and allowing you to see the difference between clothing drawn with no wrinkles versus clothing drawn in this more naturalistic way. One of my personal favorite pages in the book is this one devoted to clothing through the seasons. We see the exact same character and how much she changes from spring through summer and then autumn and winter. All really just clothing changes and color changes that help us to understand how to convey these 4 different seasons. I wanted to make sure that the book wasn't limited exclusively to human Chibi characters, so I got 2 lessons in about animals, including this one, the Chibi Cat, and even one devoted to drawing a Chibi Gundam-style robot. This one among the more challenging lessons in the book, it must be said, but fun, I thought, to break away from all the human characters and do something different. I was also rather pleased with this one about fantasy Chibis. We got the elf, we got a fairy, we have a faun and a genie, even a wizard down here, which allowed me to draw an older character as a Chibi. Something of a challenge, it must be said. And finally we come to Chapter 3, which I think is the one that really sets this book apart. I decided, in addition to teaching poses, to actually teach some Chibi craft projects that show you how you can get your drawing skills out of just the, sketchbooks at home kind of stage and start using these Chibi designs to create actual stuff that you can use and give to friends. Let me show you the sort of intro page on that. Because chibi designs are so bold and memorable, I think they're really well suited to being turned into t-shirts and different items like that. And so all 10 of the remaining lessons in the book show you how you can not just draw a chibi pose, but actually use it to create some sort of gift item or something that you can just have in your own life to get your chibi drawing skills out of the sketchbooks and into the real world. In order to make the concept work, I felt that we needed to have photos in the book showing the completed projects in the real world. So here you see this kind of chibi flower card project, the first lesson in the chapter. You see through the steps how to make this drawing, but then also how you could turn it into a real card that you could put into a bouquet of flowers or whatever and give to a friend, and you know, really leave a lasting impression that was made possible by your own drawing skills. Here's a lesson devoted to a do not disturb sign. I thought some of you would get a kick out of this. Do not disturb. That includes knocking. Don't knock. Knocking disturbs me. But of course, even if you don't intend to make a do not disturb sign, you still are learning a pose, just as you did in the previous chapters of the book. So each one of these, though they do suggest different craft projects, they are useful just as pose lessons in general. Here's my lesson on chibi t-shirt designs. You can see that my rock and roll dude here has been drawn in a kind of streamlined, simplified way so as to make the drawing better suited for reproduction on a t-shirt. And I also wanted to show that sometimes you're trying to create a black t-shirt design, which is a tricky sort of a thing to do, to go from simple line art like this to line art that allows you to get good results on a black t-shirt. Here's a lesson on creating a book plate design. Of course, you learn this pose, this sitting pose, that can be used for a variety of things. But really, I'm just trying to introduce the idea of what you can do when you start buying these sticker sheets that they sell at pretty much any office store. And there's just endless possibilities in terms of what you can create and get very professional results. I thought some of you would enjoy seeing 87654 Blushy Boulevard. In Los Angeles. Good luck finding that address. Here's my lesson on creating chibi button designs, and I thought you'd enjoy seeing the actual button that I created so as to make the photo that would be included. Now, I don't know if anyone's going to make this actual button design. It's really more of inspiring you in general to take your chibi drawing skills and apply them to real-life items like a raffle ticket or a poster for a school dance. I mean, really the possibilities are endless, and I hope that the book is inspirational in that way. Here's another one that you might recognize from an earlier video, this graduate pose. I did like a female character last time. I changed it to a male character for the book, and of course, I created this actual rubber stamp print to show people the possibilities of creating stamps like this of your own. And now we come to a very special lesson, turning a real person into a chibi. It's something that almost all artists want to do, and for it, I was able to enlist the help of this very talented actor, Chloe Noel, who has been on TV shows like True Blood and New Girl, and lucky for me, she watches my videos, and she also has read Brody's Ghost, and she's been a supporter for a number of years now. So I reached out to her and asked her mother to take a photo of Chloe in this very chibi-like pose, and it ended up being the perfect thing for showing you how you can make a drawing of a friend of yours, how the proportions change, what you need to do to make it still recognizable as the same person and yet drawn in chibi form. And I just want to say thank you one more time to Chloe and to her mother. Thank you so much for helping me out with this chapter. It really is one of my favorites in the entire book. There are many more lessons in the book. I haven't shown everything, but I wanted to show this last one, doing a personalized phone case using a chibi character. Of course, choosing a greatly simplified design so as to make it easier for you to draw or paint such a design onto a phone case. There are, as I said, many other lessons teaching other things in this book, but I think maybe it's time for me to bring this video to a close. I want to say a big thank you to anyone who orders this book. I've got the link down in the description, and I've also got a link to the contest that is still open until March 14th, I believe, is the cutoff date for you to win one of 10 different signed copies of this book. But many, many thanks to those of you who buy the books or simply watch the videos. I am always super, super grateful for your support. But for now, let's go ahead and wind this one down by saying thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.